featured speaker is Ken Smith. Ken has a 10 to 12-minute speech in one of those other series.
Entertaining speaker.
Entertaining speaker.
A dramatic talk.
Elvis Presley lives. He has been cited in many locations in 2012. There's even an Elvis Sightings Facebook page. And Elvis Presley Enterprises, Inc. tracks Graceland, Elvis, and his music as they are used for promotional purposes around the world. Elvis Presley has sold more than 1 billion record units worldwide, with approximately 40% taking place outside the United States. Elvis recorded many different versions of 728 complete songs and about 50 more partial ones. Over 150 different albums and singles have been certified gold, platinum, or multi-platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. And his music continues to stay at the top of the charts. In the last year, 3 albums were certified gold, 2 more certified platinum, and 1 album, Elvis's Christmas album, was given a rare diamond certification awarded for sales of over 10 million copies. Today, Ken will present a dramatic reading of the first chapter of the book, Elvis Exposed, by Joe Benson. Please help me welcome Ken Smith, the king of rock and roll. The king of rock and roll, Ken Smith.
In the mid-1950s, the earliest of the baby boomers were starting to come of age. Now, this is a time when the country had already begun some prosperity. World War II was over, the Korean War was over, and so there was some money in their pockets, and these baby boomers were looking for something that was them. They weren't into Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Perry Como, their parents singing. But a young man came along with his own music. He had a style, he had a beat, he mixed primarily country and rhythm and blues together with a little gospel and a dash of jazz tossed in. And as the word of the day indicates, he gyrated when he sang. I will read to you now the first chapter of a book I've enjoyed. And the book is called Elvis Exposed. When guitarist Scotty Moore met a new young singer for the first time in the summer of 1954, he was not overly impressed. He was wearing a pink suit, white shoes, and a duck tail. And I thought my wife was going to go out the back door, he said. Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records in Memphis, had suggested that Scotty and bass player Bill Black should get together with the newcomer to try out a few songs. But the young singer was not only outrageously dressed, he had a weird name too. Elvis Presley? What kind of name was that for a singer? Despite his reservations, Scotty was pleasantly surprised when he heard Elvis sing. In fact, he told Sam that if they could find the right song, this could really go somewhere. Sam booked them a session at his studios, and on a sunny July day, they came in to record. At first, there was no sense that the recording session was going to become an historically important event. They ran through a few standard country music numbers together, but nothing stood out. It all seemed just too, well, ordinary. Frustrated, Sam suggested that they all take a break. That coffee break turned out to be an event that changed the course of popular music. We were having a break, and all of a sudden Elvis started jumping around and acting like a fool, Scott said of the incident later. Then Bill picked up his bass and started acting the fool too. And then I started playing. Sam had the door to the control booth open, And he stuck his head out and said, "What are you doing?" And we said we didn't know. So he said, "Well, find a place to start and do it again." That song that Elvis was singing was an established blues tune, "That's All Right." But Elvis transformed the song by increasing the tempo and adding a whole new dimension to the vocals. Scotty and Bill picked up on the change of pace, and soon they were rocking out the song in a whole new fusion of blues, country, and R&B. Sam knew they were into something and asked them to play the song again, this time with echo added to Elvis's voice to add more depth and suspense. When they played the song back, all four of them knew they had a hit. Bill said, "Damn, get that on the radio and they'll run us out of town." But although they knew they had created something special, none of them had any idea just how important a moment this was. Standing in the cramped studio at Tiny Sun Records, they could not conceive that this was the beginning of the astonishing rise and fall of the king of rock and roll himself. For a future king, Elvis Presley had a very modest start in life at the poor end of town in Tupelo, Mississippi. In the early hours of 8th of January 1935, he arrived into the world 30 minutes after his stillborn twin brother, surviving to become the only child of Gladys and Vernon Presley.
Wow.
Elvis blamed the death of his brother on the poverty of his family's situation. "My little brother died and my mama almost died because we couldn't afford to go to the hospital." The young Elvis Aaron Presley did not seem to have much going for him except for a loving family. Gladys spoiled him as far as their meager income allowed, while Vernon did his best to scratch a living as a sharecropper, barely managing to keep up the payments on their very modest two-bedroom home. Elvis's early childhood was uneventful, apart from the time when he impressed a teacher with his rendition of Old Shep. This resulted in him being entered into a talent show at the age of 8, where he won second prize and the princely sum of $5, plus as many free show rides as he could imagine for the rest of the day. Vernon, however, was less successful at making money, and the family struggled to get by. One time, when things became really tight, he resorted to writing a fraudulent check and to try and get money for food. But it turned out that he wasn't too good at cheating the system either. This episode resulted in a 2-year prison term stretch on the local prison farm, doing hard labor while his family struggled without him. Without Vernon's income, Gladys was unable to keep up the payments on the house, and they had to move in with Vernon's brother, Vester. Here Elvis took an interest in Uncle Vester's guitar, and this led to Gladys buying him a second-hand guitar for his birthday. This was something of a disappointment, as what he really wanted was a bicycle. But he enjoyed playing his new instrument and became reasonably adept at it. Elvis listened to music on the radio, singing along and working out the chords as he played. Life didn't improve much when Vernon was released from jail, with Tupelo simply not offering any real prospects of finding work. Vernon and Elvis scratched around to find what work they could, but it was clear that there was no future for them in a small-town life. So, when Elvis was 13, the family packed all their possessions into their car and headed for Memphis to start a new life. "We were broke, man. Broke, and we left Tupelo overnight," Elvis said later. "Dad packed all our belongings into boxes and put them on the top and in the trunk of our 1939 Plymouth, and we just headed for Memphis." Memphis was certainly very different from life in Tupelo. The big city did offer better work opportunities, and Vernon soon found a job in a paint factory. But even so, all they could afford by way of accommodation was housing and a project for low-income families. They lived in a second in a single room with no cooking facilities and shared a bathroom with several other families. Elvis started at the local school, Humes High, and wasn't too impressed at what he found there either. A quiet, shy boy, he found it difficult to fit in. To his frustration, his mother insisted on walking him to school every day. One of the big pluses of living in Memphis, however, was the opportunity to enjoy the huge cultural melting pot of musical influences that abounded there. Memphis had a very lively music scene, ranging from gospel choirs and blues singers to country music and rhythm and blues. The young Elvis was steeped in this music from church on Sundays to when he and his friends bunked off to the poorest side of town to hear blues musicians play. He soaked up a whole range of influences that would later play a huge role in shaping his music. The family finances improved when Gladys found work at a local hospital. While Elvis brought in a few dollars from mowing lawns in the neighborhood, soon they had exceeded the income level allowed for the housing project and had to move to a property nearby. Elvis got a job as a cinema usher, but was fired for watching movies instead of doing his job. As he grew into his mid-teens, Elvis took a keen interest in his appearance, adopting a Tony Curtis hairstyle and spending hours grooming himself in front of the mirror. This helped him attract a good deal of interest from the girls in the school, but also resulted in some incidents with the boys that nearly led to fights. Elvis remained something of an outsider at school, with just a few close friends to help him stay out of trouble. But it was clear that Elvis's future did not lie in the academic world, and he left school in 1953 to work with the Crown Electric Company as a delivery driver. But this job was never more than a stopgap. His real interest lay in music. He wanted to become a professional singer and musician, despite his father's protestations that he'd never seen a guitar player that was worth a damn. Mr. Toastmaster.